You've probably noticed how one word can make an entire political establishment lose its ever-loving mind. The term remigration just re-entered public debate, and we're watching people either nod in recognition or shriek like they've seen a ghost. What we're going to go over is why this conversation terrifies so many powerful people and what they're desperately trying to hide from you. In this video, we'll discover the uncomfortable truths about border enforcement that politicians won't say out loud, the preventable tragedies that keep happening, and why your safety has become a taboo subject. We're breaking down the lies, the consequences, and what happens when a country refuses to defend itself. You ready? Let's get into it. Hey guys, welcome back to RPW Media. So let's talk about a word that apparently broke the internet this week. On New Year's Day, President Trump posted on Instagram a single image of him with darkness behind with one word: remigration. Say it out loud. Go ahead. You feel that? That's the sound of 1,000 think pieces being frantically typed by people who have never had to worry about their own neighborhood's safety. The reaction to this term tells you everything. Some people hear it and think, finally, someone's saying what we've all been thinking. Others hear it and they immediately reach for the smelling salts, calling it extreme or dangerous or just violent, racist, or whatever buzzword makes them feel morally superior that day. But here's what nobody wants to admit. Refusing to discuss something doesn't make the problem go away. It just makes the consequences worse. And the consequences, well, they're piling up and we're all supposed to pretend everything's fine. You wouldn't think we would have to talk about this subject, illegal immigration, at this point, but we do because there's so many powerful forces around us that are trying to make it such a taboo subject that we can't even talk about it. Here's the core question that no slogan or commercial can avoid. Does a country control its borders or does it pretend they no longer exist? Every issue that follows, safety, sovereignty, responsibility, flows from that choice. Now, this isn't some abstract debate that you'd have in a college seminar where everyone gets a participation trophy. This is about a pretty straightforward question. Does a country actually control its borders, or does it pretend borders are just a social construct from a less enlightened time? Everything flows from that choice, guys. Whether your government actually works for you or for some abstract ideal that sounds great at a cocktail party but falls apart the moment it meets with reality. Now, let's state something that should be obvious but apparently isn't anymore. Entering the United States illegally breaks federal law. Full stop. That's not an opinion, guys. That's not up for debate. It's just a fact. But watch what happens in public discussion. That reality gets softened, wrapped in euphemisms, or simply just ignored. The pro-illegal aliens crowd will jump in here and say, well, actually, it's just a misdemeanor, not a felony, unless he comes back after deportation. As if that is no big deal. You know what else is a misdemeanor, guys? Assault, domestic violence, a whole range of crimes that would absolutely ruin your day if you committed them. But somehow, when we're talking about border violations, we're supposed to just shrug and say, meh, it's only a misdemeanor. The problem gets exponentially worse when illegal presence combines with violent crime. And what I'm about to say shouldn't be controversial, but somehow it is. When someone who entered this country unlawfully commits rape, murder, or serious assault, the damage is permanent. Families are destroyed. Communities carry trauma that lasts for generations. And here's the part that should make you very angry. These crimes were preventable. They happened because the system failed before the crime ever occurred. Now think about that for a second. We're not talking about crimes that just happen in any society. We're talking about crimes committed by people who shouldn't have been here in the first place. We all know how they got here. A society cannot function, cannot survive if border enforcement is treated like an optional suggestion while everyone still expects perfect order and safety. That's not how reality works. That's not how anything works. For decades now, Americans have been fed a specific Bullstein story. We were told that borders don't really matter. Assimilation? That's old-fashioned, maybe even offensive. We were assured that importing millions of people from failing societies would somehow make this society stronger. Well, that promise, it was a lie. And deep down, everyone knows it, whether they admit it or not. When you allow people to enter with zero expectation that they'll respect your laws, your culture, or your basic civic norms, for goodness sake, you don't get diversity, you get disorder. Taxpayers foot a bigger bill. Communities fracture along lines that didn't exist before this. Crime goes up, and something more subtle but equally destructive happens. Social trust evaporates. Look at us now. You stop trusting your neighbors. You stop trusting your institutions. You start wondering if anyone in charge actually cares about what happens to you. And here's where it gets really interesting. Notice who refuses to acknowledge any of this. The Democratic Party. Think about this, guys. When the Trump administration in the beginning started removing violent, criminal, illegal aliens, did the Democrats applaud basic law enforcement? No, they did not. They protested. They acted like protecting American citizens was the real crime here. That told you everything you needed to know about their priorities. These aren't people interested in fixing the damage that they helped create. They're invested in denying the damage even exists. They will never support remigration because doing so would require them to admit their policies have actively harmed this country. So instead of accountability, you get denial. Instead of solutions, you get slogans. And Americans are left picking up the pieces. They don't care of what they cause. Now, let's address the elephant in the room. The accusation that always gets thrown around when you support firm immigration enforcement. You know the one. That's hateful. It's prejudice. That's not who we are. Wrong. Supporting immigration enforcement isn't rooted in hatred, my God. It comes from something much more fundamental. The understanding that laws exist for a reason, and when government stops enforcing them, predictable harm follows. Just look what happened after the last administration allowed in tens of millions of illegals from third world nations. Societies that abandon their own rules don't become kinder or more compassionate. They become weaker. They become more dangerous for everyone involved. Here's a principle that should be uncontroversial. Violent crime deserves the harshful, lawful punishment, period. It doesn't matter who commits it. But when those crimes are committed by non-citizens who shouldn't be here in the first place, the response should be crystal clear. Prison first, permanent removal afterward. This isn't radical thinking, guys. This is how most functioning nations protect their people. It's basic sovereignty. What's truly remarkable, and by remarkable, I mean insane, is how aggressively this reality gets denied. The connection between mass illegal entry and preventable violence is treated like it's taboo to even mention. I mean, do you feel that way? Am I the only one? Citizens who bring it up get accused of moral failure. Families who've lost loved ones to these preventable crimes, they get quietly ignored. It's not compassion, it's cowardice. That's a refusal to face reality because reality is uncomfortable. But only serious people deal with reality, even in the uncomfortableness of it. A government that prioritizes defending a narrative over defending its citizens has forfeited its moral authority. And once that happens, trust collapses. You can't get it back with the press release. But there's something else happening right now that isn't going to get nearly enough attention. While this debate over immigration and public safety upholds, open discussion about it is being systematically narrowed. Congressional hearings, sworn testimony, released documents, they all point to ongoing relationships between federal agencies and major tech companies over what you're allowed to say and what gets quietly suppressed. Lawyers can argue over where the exact boundaries are, but the effects are already obvious. When government officials pressure private platforms to limit certain viewpoints, which happened in the last administration, public debate shrinks. People can see it happening in real time. One perspective gets restricted, another gets amplified, and confidence in institutions that depend on trust, it evaporates. A free society doesn't survive by managing speech behind closed doors. It survives when ideas get tested in public, especially the ones that make powerful people uncomfortable. Those are the ones that you should latch on to. Because once that stops, you're not dealing with a policy disagreement anymore. You're dealing with control. And the consequences of all this extend far beyond domestic policy. The United States occupies a unique position in the world. Whether people want to admit it or not, American economic power, military reach, and relatively stable institutions underpin much of the modern international order. When America weakens itself through internal disorder and collapsing public confidence, those effects don't stay contained within our borders, guys. They spread. You're seeing it now. Power vacuums never stay open for long. History is extremely clear on this point. When stability erodes, it attracts actors who are more than happy to exploit that weakness. We are living that now from the past administration. We can't have that ever again. A strong America contributes to global stability. But a country that can't enforce its own laws, protect its own citizens, or speak honestly about its own failures, it loses the credibility required to lead the world stage. And once that credibility is gone, it doesn't come back easily, if at all. So what does this all mean? Where does it all leave us? Well, this moment demands seriousness. Catchphrases aren't solutions. Enforcement matters. Accountability matters. And honest speech matters too. Even when, especially when, it draws backlash from people who benefit from keeping you silent. Victims of preventable crimes deserve justice. Citizens deserve to be safe. Any nation that intends to last must be willing to defend itself, not just through policy, but through open and truthful discussion about what's actually happening and why. We can't keep electing politicians that want to say we don't have borders, that they don't matter, because they do. Ignoring the problem doesn't make it disappear. It guarantees only one thing, that more innocent people will pay the price for the refusal to act. The truth is simple. Even if saying it out loud makes people uncomfortable, they all need to go. All of the illegals, all of them. Remigration. The sooner that happens, the safer America will be. And you know what? Maybe that's exactly what this country needs to hear. Not the polished focus group version. Not the version that makes everyone feel good. The version that's actually true. Because at the end of the day, you have a choice. You can live in a country that enforces its laws and protects its citizens, or you can live in one that's more concerned with protecting the feelings of people who broke the laws in the first place. You can't have both. But the good news is we're finally having this conversation, and we're going to have it over the next 6 months. The term remigration is out there now. It's being discussed. And despite all the shrieking and hand-wringing, Americans are starting to realize that maybe, just maybe, it's time to put their own safety first. Now, that's not extreme. That's not hateful. That's called having a functioning country. It's long overdue. All right, tell me what you think about this in the comments below. I love hearing from you guys. Thank you for watching. I'll see you in the next one.